ticket. The writing is white. The writing is white. Do you need a ticket?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's that?
This is a new ticket, new group ticket. You need a new group ticket? There you go. Your groups are written on the board. There you go. New group tickets. Your groups are written on the board. And on your way, please pick up one of these sitting on this table right there. And one of these. 2 things for you to pick up. Pick up one each of those. Hello? You have 2 sheets in front of you. And I'm going to try to give you the experience we had in developing a lesson. So first, don't look at the second sheet. For now, look at the 1.8 new camera. This is the contextualized problem. That this is from the book. Says what the book is here. Remember I said when we started with the intermediate algebra with support that summer, we decided we wouldn't be able to write our classroom activities. So we selected a book where the group work would be in the book. And so we decided to use Mathematics in Action, Algebraic, Graphical, and Trigonometric Problem Solving. We didn't do the trig part. 5th edition by the Consortium for Foundation of Mathematics. Activity 1.8, what you're looking at is the very first beginning part of that activity. There's many more subsequent portions of that activity. So don't think that this sheet that you have in front of you is the whole activity. So these are the objectives in the book. So this is actually just, I typed it in straight out of the book, and it's the first couple of pages of the activity. So I want you to don't completely work through the activity, but take a few minutes to read through, pretend you're about to prep the lesson for your students. And you want to read through this activity, realizing that this is an intermediate algebra activity. This would probably be about 3 weeks into the course, maybe. It's an intermediate algebra activity, and you have students that place 3 levels or more below, students that place 2 or more levels below, students that place 1 level below. You might even have some straight up intermediate algebra students in your course. So you're going through this, and you're also trying to pay attention to what prerequisite skills might they need. And in a minute, I'll have you start the group work. But for now, just start reading through the activity, kind of discuss, pretend you're in community or practice with other teachers, kind of discuss what's going on in this activity, and always in the back of your mind be thinking, what prerequisite skills might the students need? Okay, get on it, and you're kind of just looking at this activity. I'll give you about 5 minutes, 6 minutes on this. Now here's where you might say you feel lazy. There's not going to be too much for me to do right now. I'm going to walk around and watch you. Hello, hello, hello. Hi. I almost used the whistle on you guys. All right, yeah. So, time to report out. We're going to do 2 different report outs. The first report is going to be on the first page. Not necessarily every skill that you identified. Give me just 2 or 3 skills prerequisite skills you feel they need that you identified. So that leaves some of, let's say 2 for now. Each group report out 2. So that every group gets to report out something. And I'm just going to start randomly choosing so that, the group that thinks they're not going to get chosen doesn't sit there just quietly thinking, ooh, that's a better way to report out. We're going to change groups. So start packing up. You're on the move. Take your work with you. We'll go by numbers. Go find your new groups and share what you discussed in your old groups. New groups. New groups. Move. Quickly, quickly. New groups. Sorry, I know you guys are having a conversation. I wanted you guys to experience, so I just switched groups. Did you feel your energy levels go up? Because we're in a new group. So I'll switch groups sometimes after 10 minutes even. I always do groups random like But if I do have a dominant student and they are dominating a group, or I've got a chatty group that I'm having trouble getting on task, or the energy has started to go down, or there's several groups, 2 or 3 groups are getting what I need them to get, and the rest don't have it. I don't go up and give it to them, I switch groups. And by using these tickets, you can create 4 distinct groups where no 2 people are in the same group twice. So you can create 4 groups, and they're never in a group with somebody else they've already been in a group with. So that way you can share the knowledge really quick, right? If 2 groups are getting it, if one group is getting it and nobody else, I do a different activity. But if I'm in a hurry, I need them to quickly get this concept, I never go to the board and give it to them. But I will switch groups real quick and say, okay, share what you did. If only one group has got it, I'll do an ambassador exchange. I'll talk to you about what that is later. I'll show you what it is. So I have these little tools in my pocket. I'll show you where they are in the box. How I call it sharing the love, sharing the knowledge. So technically you guys just shared the knowledge on something you were struggling with, but you guys weren't really struggling. So that's what you just experienced. I'll even share and change groups, 3 times in a half an hour. Until I get the groups to settle in and get on task. Right? They're not on task, I change groups. If some groups aren't getting and others are, I change groups. It's just a quick way to share things quickly. Okay, so we're going to report out by groups some of the prerequisite skills. I want to just state this. This is straight out of the Intermediate Algebra textbook. These objectives are the 1.8 learning objectives from the textbook. The reason we chose this textbook is it does some remediation in context already in the textbook. In an intermediate algebra class, wouldn't you expect students to be able to write a linear equation in the slope-intercept form already? Yet this is a topic addressed in this textbook. So I noticed some of you are writing that down as a prerequisite skill. So I wouldn't consider it a prerequisite skill since it is a learning objective of the intermediate algebra textbook. It does already some just-in-time remediation for you.
That book is an OER?
Is it what?
Is it an OER?
No, it's not an OER. It's very expensive, $180. Yeah, it's very expensive.
Who's the publisher? Consortium?
The Consortium for the Foundation in Mathematics. For us, it was a good way to start because, time to talk about Fred Watson. So Fred Watson, when I was younger and went back to college as a returning adult, but not as old as a returning adult, I took Fred Watson as my beginning algebra teacher. And he's still teaching there. He's a lecturer. He is a lovely lecturer. He's got this really sort of mellow aspect to him. He speaks sort of mellow, but not monotone. And you just listen to Fred for some reason. I don't know how to describe it, but Fred can hold your attention in his very calm and reassuring way of talking. So he lectures quite a bit. He'll lecture for 10 to 25 minutes. He doesn't go over 25 minutes. And then he'll have students work on the activity, then he'll lecture a little more work on the activity, students put stuff on the board. He does all the change-up groups, he works in groups, but he lectures a lot more. You have to be true to who you are as a teacher, right? You can't change who you are. Although he's evolving, he lectures less and less, he says. But he was true to doing a lecture.
I think we've all been trained to be lecturers for the most part. So in a way, we'd be true to ourselves if we continue that way. But at the same time, as part of our profession, perhaps.
But is that who you are, or is that how you were trained? See, I don't know.
I guess I'll have to give it a shot, right, to see truly.
Yeah. The teacher in me, I say I was born and new into the craft of teaching. When I'm an evangelical about the way I teach now. So you guys don't expect to have to do it the way I do it. I'm just talking about what I do. But that lecturing, for me, personally me, not Fred, I wasn't teaching. I am teaching now. And I have a little saying that said, learning happen in the absence of teaching, but teaching cannot happen in the absence of learning. And I feel like I'm true to myself now, and that I was just doing what I saw, what I was just repeating what I saw. Fred is a lecturer. I mean, I think it's part of who he is. Do you know? But I don't think that lecturing thing is who I was. I think it was what I did. Do you see the difference there? Okay. Does that mean you all have to jump off a cliff like I did and do? No. You can be successful not doing it. But I can only talk from my experience, and I'm evangelical about it because magic happens now. It's never happened before. They think, they understand stuff. They teach me. It's pretty cool. Okay, so we're going to report out in groups. I'm on the wrong gig right now. I'll try, so give me like just a few prerequisite, one or two prerequisite skills that you think are absolutely necessary from your group. Group one.
Well, the concept of down payment and monthly payments, even though that seems
Life context.
Yes.
Okay, life context is a prerequisite skill. Like, what's a down payment? What are monthly payments? They might not understand it. Group two. Is there another one you guys are allowed to get to?
Parallel lines.
Parallel lines. Okay, group two.
I was in Steve's group, and it's the same thing.
Okay. And what about the other part in your new group?
We talked about function types.
Function what?
Function types normally.
Function types. Yeah, function types. Function types. Maybe you were worried about quadratic versus linear or something like that. Is that an appropriate interpretation of what you just said?
And then the percents.
What about percents?
I guess in the conversion and also in the real life context, what is 20% of something?
Okay, so conversion. What do you mean conversion?
Convert it to a decimal.
So let's be specific. Percent. If you just put percents down, then if you have that in your lesson plan, the part-timer that picks up your lesson plan thinks they got to give a 2-hour lecture on everything involved with percents, solving percent equations,
We do.
converting, huh?
We do need percent equations.
For this activity.
You need to convert percents into decimals so you can multiply.
But do you need to solve a percentage equation?
If you're defining the down payment as a percentage of the base.
So if I say 18 is 30% of what number?
You don't have to do all of them.
Do you see what I'm saying? So if you just say solve percent equations and you make that in your lesson plan, then a part-timer who picks up this plan or a new full-timer that you've hired thinks they've got to cover solving every type of percentage equation. So that's why I'm asking for specificity. That's where we realize we got to be careful just saying solve percent equations. So do you need to solve a percentage equation or do you need to be able to calculate the percent of something? Yeah, there you go. You guys are getting it. So calculate a percent, calculate a percentage. Do you think that's appropriate terminology?
Of a base.
Okay, calculate the percent of a base. All right, base. Yeah. Okay. That was group 2 or 3 that we were just talking about? 3?
2.
Okay, now 3. Group 3, where are you?
So convert years to months.
Years to months.
And understanding what an average rate of change is.
Okay. Articulate meaning. Okay, I'm going to put bullets on these, sorry. Okay, group 4.
It's not the real 2.
That's right. Go ahead.
We were the 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the new 2. The other group too. What? Okay, so we've established a relationship. You've gotten used to my personality. This doesn't offend you. I'll come back to you when you guys have it. I'm going to move on to group 5. Group 5. Where are you? Okay, give me something. Now, if everything's up there already, you can say that too, but you guys have something you want to add to this list.
One thing we put down was meaning of vertical and horizontal intercepts. Like, do they understand in the context of this problem what is the meaning of a vertical intercept or horizontal intercept?
Can I just say meaning of intercepts in context, because we know that means both kinds? Okay. You guys are ready?
Yeah, graphing lines from slope-intercept form.
Graphing lines from slope-intercept form. Okay, group 5. 5. Did I?
We gave ours.
Okay, 6.
I guess I said just because there is a concept of interest, so you mentioned interest.
So that's the in context, right?
Yeah.
Life in context. Can
How about understanding a linear relationship?
Okay, so I'm going to add interest. So I'm going to add up here payments, down payment, interest, loans, just some life in context things. You might need to orient them. And then what else did you say?
Just understanding a linear relationship.
Understanding linear relationship. So I understand there's all kinds of spelling things here. Okay. 7.
Word problem dissection.
Word problem. And so what part of word problem, like give me, is that a broad topic or is that very specific in your
Well, to read the word problem and in order for you to identify the key information.
the key information from it? So dissect a word problem to identify what are the quantities that are changing,
Yes.
what are the relationships between them. Okay, so I'll just put dissecting a word problem. Okay, and then group 8, where are you?
Everything that's up there.
Okay, group 9. We don't have a group 9?
Maybe define a function.
Define a function? Okay. And what do you mean by define a function? Like, should they be able to articulate what a function is?
Yeah.
Or be able to determine the function given the context? Which one? Like, what do you mean by define a function?
I think understanding we use the term function, what that means in relation to the
Okay.
ordered pairs, the data.
So I'm going to put explain what function, explain how a function, I didn't hear you because I was thinking too much, hold on, relates to the, okay, explain how a function relates to, oh, okay, to the context. Let me finish with them and then I'll get to the ordered pairs with you. Is that sort of what you mean?
Yes.
Okay, and then you say represent ordered pairs. Would I say represent a function using ordered pairs? Okay, I know that's not elegant. Okay, anything that you're just dying to have in this list that we haven't put in this list?
You assume that they would know how to subtract and divide, but that's necessary to understand the down payment stuff in the beginning.
So just some arithmetic skills.
Yeah, to get the 960 divided
Okay,
by 24.
so just arithmetic skills. So I will go through each one of these in a minute, but so when we did our work, right, we started with this. What are the prerequisite skills? Then we set up this system to identify which prerequisite skills we really think we needed to deal with in class. And addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division would not have been one of them. In other words, if they don't remember those, like adding and subtracting negative numbers, we would expect that to happen in osmosis, or if, as the instructor's navigating around and sees that's a problem, but it's only one student having that problem, you would find a way to work with that student, maybe in class or out of class, or keep an eye on that student to see if they're getting it from their peers. If it's more than one, you might decide, oh, that's something I needed to cover, and you would have to ask yourself in this moment, this prerequisite skill that I failed to address in my lesson plan, is it so that is now popped up in the real life situation of teaching this lesson? Is it so critical that I need to interrupt the lesson and find a way to make sure they have it? Can we muddle through without it? Do I actually need to stop the lesson? You have to decide how to deal with it in the moment. So this is actually the lesson plan that we came up with, and it's got additional things. I did it last night, and I snuck onto campus to use the printer in my office because I'm not supposed to do this, and it ran out of ink for the very back page, but it's not important, so don't worry. So I'm going to pass these out. Talk in whispers, but as soon as I go to the front room, stop talking because I want to share something. So this is the lesson plan we came up with, and I'll show you how we dealt with these prerequisite skills.
Terrie, do you use calculators in class?
Yes, we use graphing calculators, and in my classes, I teach calculator dependence.
Do we have more?
Yeah, there's more coming. There'll be more. You guys sweep it around this way. That pile, sweep it around this way.
On the left side, in the list, let's talk about square of the number.
I just listed all the prerequisite skills they already had at that point. It doesn't mean they need it.
Did you just say that you teach calculator independence?
No, I teach calculator dependence. I do not give a rat's ass if they know how to add fractions. I teach them how to do it on the graphing calculator, hit math, and convert to frac. So I teach a certain level of dependence. Some teachers object to that, and they don't. Fred Watson does not teach calculator dependence. He's completely, does not like calculator dependence. Okay, so what you'll see in this now, in our lesson plans, I think they've changed it. For some reason, now you guys have to realize that you're only seeing the first 2 pages, you're seeing only the first part of a 4-part. 1.8 is a 4-part lesson. So they've added the distributive property for some reason. I don't know why, and they have a worksheet on it, but that was before my time. So these are probably just the learning objectives from the workbook. And then our start objectives are prerequisite skill objectives that we've added that don't pop up naturally. Okay, so the first part of our lesson plans are the materials. If it's display, when it says display only, it means you don't have to have copies made, but you're just going to display it or write it on the board. If it says copies, then those you should have prepped for class, bring copies of that when you come to class. Okay, so this first little grid is how we deal with prerequisite skills. Math 10 is the co-requisite support course, so Math 10 skills would be prerequisite skills and definitions. So these are the prerequisite skills that we decided, yes, we want to address in class. Now remember, it was the summer before. Okay, so out of that whole list that you came up with and everything else that you added on there, we came up with very similar lists, the same things. And then we decided, okay, what's really core? What do we want to really address? And then we have these ways that we address it. Is it already handled in the lesson from the workbook? Do we want to let students just do productive struggle with it, and as we walk around, kind of give help, change up groups to get students to teach each other? So do we want the prerequisite skill to be reviewed just through the process of productive struggle? Do we actually want to create a group activity if it's a skill that's so important that before we even start this activity, we want to front load that skill? Very rarely do we front load. We usually teach the prerequisite skill in context. So there would be a targeted group activity for that skill. You'll rarely see an X in these boxes. And then, is it a just-in-time mini lecture as needed? Like you interrupt, do a quick little mini lecture, come back to it. So interpret percentages in context, calculate percentages. As it turns out, when we taught it the first semester, the only one that we needed was calculating percentages. Everything else was a waste of our time to pay attention to it. It happened through osmosis and productive struggle and students teaching students. So the only thing that we addressed directly, the lesson plan, you'll see the whole lesson plan here, but you'll go to, so each part has that setup, prerequisite skill for that part. So, but for this first part, part one, the one that you're looking at, this was the only thing that we decided to address, and we front-loaded it. So the second semester we taught this, we addressed calculating a percentage. We gave the context, just a lot of the math we teach like you learned language. When you were 2 years old, you learned how to speak. In other words, we don't teach convert this to this question and then translate this question into an equation. We just first scaffold it like this. Then we expect them to start asking that question of themselves, and we expect them to kind of figure out how to translate it. We might summarize and say, oh, look, you guys translated what to the variable is to equals and of to times. But we don't specifically address it. We just scaffold it as we go through. So this was the only prerequisite skill that we addressed for this lesson, and they frickin' rocked it. The second semester, when we did this lesson, that was the only prerequisite skill we addressed, and they rocked the lesson. Nobody's productive struggle devolved into frustration, and we wasted all that time identifying all those other prerequisite skills, And we actually argued. We had like week-long fights over, they should be able to solve percentage equations before doing this section. We had those debates. And it has, we do less and less of the prerequisites, and this was the only one we did for this part. Now, for other parts in the lesson, some of you I noticed you were choosing your prerequisite from the learning objectives up above. For the learning objectives in the student lesson plan, this sheet, those learning objectives are for all 4 parts. So, and yes, there were other prerequisite skills we needed for those parts. But just for this part, for these 2 pages, that was the only prerequisite skill that we needed. So we did this, we put this up, we said work in your groups. Actually, I think they did a think, pair, share on this one. I think they just, before they put students in groups, they said this was up on the board when students walked in. They said, okay, work on this individually. I might turn it into a quiz, I might not, find that out. Have them work on it, give it for a minute. Then share with your neighbor. You walk around and listen while they're sharing with your neighbor. Some of the teachers identified they weren't ready for this, so we had 2 additional problems ready for them. If you go up to just part 1 of this lesson, if when walking around we decided, they're not quite translating this question into being able to calculate the percentage, we wrote these 2, we write one problem on the board, maybe put them in groups, then organize them in groups. Again, waiting for students to teach each other, and then if that didn't happen, the teacher would demonstrate some other ones. But that's how we handled the prerequisite skills for this part. Now, a lot of the prerequisite skills that you guys came up with was for the learning objectives lesson, and they would listed there, and those would be for subsequent parts. And all 4 parts are here. So I referred earlier to, let me see what page it would be. So we also, I just lied to you. We also recognize that even though they had done this in the previous section, they did an average rate of change in 1.7 or 1.6 because they might not have done the homework yet. I think this fell, like if this was a Tuesday, Thursday class, I think this fell on Thursday. And some students wait till the weekend because they work to do their homework. Just in case that is the case, if they hadn't done the 1.7 homework, they also warmed up with this, a review of the 1.7 previous work. So they did that as well. Sorry, I forgot about that part. Okay, but that's not a prerequisite skill, that's a review of material they've already covered. So This is a worksheet they gave at the end of this lesson. So remember earlier I talked about an ambassador exchange? We're actually going to call it toolbox later, but right now we're just calling them appendices. So we have these little tools we use to share knowledge. One of them is an ambassador exchange. You'll see in the box, when you look these up, the purpose for it, how you conduct the ambassador exchange in class, and what goes on. So to share knowledge, if I don't want to share flip groups, I might just do an ambassador exchange. That describes how to do an ambassador exchange. You guys asked about a whole class verbal group quiz. Here's a description on how to conduct one and why you might use it. I attached these to this lesson plan because both of these are called for in this lesson plan. So I just want to, before we go on to stats, I want to warn you about something. When reading these lesson plans, if you tried to do these lesson plans exactly as they're written, you'd be like this robotic, busy bee, just jumping from this to that, to this to that. The lesson plans are meant to give you ideas, but don't do everything that's in a lesson plan. You can't. You would be crazy bouncing around. Just do what feels right in the moment and skip what doesn't feel right in the moment. Okay, little 5-minute break, and then when you come back from a 5-minute break, I'm going to have 2 other papers on the end of this table for you to pick up. Don't start working on until you get your groups. I'll have new groups on board. When you come back, you'll be in new groups.